On the 8th of October, Italy's government, led by Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni's ruling party Brothers of Italy, introduced a bill. It was a bill to prohibit Islamic face coverings in public spaces across the country. Under the proposed legislation, violators would face fines ranging from $350 to $3,500. The party called it a bill against Islamic separatism. The introductory text said the legislation aims to combat religious radicalization and religiously motivated hatred. The law also imposes stricter rules on mosque funding and forced marriages. So what exactly are a burqa and a niqab? The burqa is a full-body garment that covers a woman from head to toe, including a mesh screen over the eyes. The niqab is a face veil that leaves the area around the eyes exposed. These garments are predominantly worn by Muslim women. But why does this European country want to impose restrictions? Which countries have banned the burqa and why? Should wearing a face covering be considered an individual choice or a compulsion that reflects submission to societal and cultural norms? We explore these questions and more on WION Wide Angle this week. Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni's Brothers of Italy party proposes a burqa ban. According to the draft law, the clothing obstructs facial recognition in public places, schools, offices and commercial areas. Officials insist it protects Italian identity and women's freedom without restricting religious rights. The proposals come amid growing tensions over the increasingly visible presence of the Islamic faith in Italy. The country's Islamic associations estimate that around 2 million Muslims live in Italy, many of them foreign workers and their families. The US-based Pew Research Center estimated 5 years ago that Italy was home to nearly 3 million Muslims, around 5% of the population. Muslim groups say Italy's punitive approach to Islamic veils would not promote religious harmony. Instead, it may risk alienating Muslims.
According to this law, you cannot go around wearing a face cover, whatever kind of face covering. The point is, covering your face, it is against the law. And this is one set of issues. It's a security issue. You need to be identified at any moment when you are in the street. The other set of issues this law proposal is covering is the transparency of funding of masjids in Italy, which is not transparent.
Face and head coverings often have religious reasons. However, the debate surrounding them is far from simple. It involves interpretations of scripture, cultural traditions, and modern societal considerations. The wearing of Islamic veils in public has been a controversial topic in many other European countries. Let's take a look at some of them. The place of religion and religious symbols worn in public has been a long-running matter of controversy in France, which is a secular country and home to Europe's largest Muslim minority. In 2004, France prohibited the wearing of religious symbols such as the Islamic headscarf, Jewish kippah and large Christian crosses in public schools, saying that they violate secular laws. In 2011, France was the first European country to introduce a blanket ban on full-face Islamic veils in public spaces. French Muslims took to the streets of Paris in protest at the new French law banning the wearing of niqabs and burqas in public. French police issued several on-the-spot fines since the ban came into effect in April 2011. Some niqab wearers, many of them French converts, vowed to continue going out and to take their cases to the European Court of Human Rights if stopped by police.
Très satisfaite I'm very satisfied. We'll now be able to appeal to the European Court of Human Rights to revoke this law, which is in any case an illegal law.
Under the law promoted by then-President of France Nicolas Sarkozy, any Muslim woman wearing a face veil was banned from all public places in France, including when walking down the street, taking a train, going to hospital, or collecting her children from school. In 2011, French officials estimated that only around 2,000 women from a total Muslim population estimated at between 4 and 6 million wear the full face veils that are traditional in parts of South Asia.
It's France which gives us the right to be practicing Muslims. It's secularism which guarantees that right. So no, I'm staying in my country and defending my rights, and that's all.
Muslim women are the ones primarily targeted. It's clearly a minority. How many of them actually wear a niqab? Very few, and yet we talk about it every day. This is really rather worrying for our democracy.
Even if I risked prison, I wouldn't change anything. This law is unjust. Nobody has the right to tell me what to uncover, what to show. That's my business, my personal freedom. I'm in charge of my own body.
Earlier this year, France once again made headlines with its controversial move to ban religious symbols, including the hijab, in sports. The European country bans the use of hijabs in sports like football, basketball and volleyball at all levels. The French Senate passed a bill in February 2025 to ban religious symbols such as the hijab in all sporting competitions. In last year's Paris Olympic Games too, France banned its athletes from using the Muslim head covering when they competed. President Emmanuel Macron said earlier this year that he is in favor of the Olympic Charter, which prohibits the wearing of any religious symbols during competitions. However, the International Olympic Committee, or IOC, allowed hijabs to be worn in Paris's Olympic Village, but left competition rules up to the host country's discretion. French weightlifter Sylvie Eberena voices displeasure over the move to ban the hijab in sports, calling it a discriminatory measure that undermines the unifying spirit of athletics.
Cette frustration de se dire que peut-être que je vais pas pouvoir montrer.
It's frustrating to think that I might not be able to compete, especially as competitions can represent the culmination of all your hard work. But for me, it's more than just a question of the headscarf. It's about telling women what they should do, what they can or can't do, how they should dress, how they should behave. That's why I'm speaking out. It's not just about me, it's about much more than that. It's about women in general.
Beaucoup plus large et que c'est vraiment la question des femmes de façon générale.
Wearing a headscarf fundamentally has not changed me. I didn't want to change who I was. I'm still the same person. I don't have any other ulterior motives, be they provocative, political, or otherwise. So it's absurd to hear comments like that because it suggests we have certain intentions, ones we don't have and wouldn't dream of having.
France's long-standing secular model is embedded in its constitutional identity and guards a strict separation between religion and the state. This principle has led to a series of laws over the past 2 decades that restrict the display of religious symbols in public settings. In 2023, France banned students from wearing the abaya, a loose-fitting robe usually worn by Muslim women in public schools. And more recently, lawmakers have debated extending this restriction to domestic sports competitions. Is France's agenda crossing the line into injustice and discrimination?
In France, all religious symbols are banned. All religious symbols, not only Islamic ones, all of them, because the state is secular. The point is, why would you ask exceptions to laws of the state? In France, all religious symbols are banned. It is a secular state. Why would you ask for a different set of rules? Why would you impose your culture?
Switzerland's ban on facial coverings in public took effect this year on the 1st of January. Anyone who unlawfully flouts the prohibition faces a fine of up to 1,000 Swiss francs or $1,144. the move ignited heated discussions about religious freedoms, security and cultural identity. So why has Switzerland banned face coverings? The Swiss people narrowly voted in favor of banning face coverings in public, including the burqa and niqab worn by Muslim women. After the referendum, the Swiss Parliament's final legislative passage to the ban on face coverings came in September 2023. It was only in November 2024 that the government said the prohibition would come into effect from January 1st, 2025. People in Switzerland are given a direct say in their own affairs under the country's system of democracy. They are regularly asked to vote in referendums on various national or regional issues. The proposal to ban face coverings was campaigned with slogans such as "Stop Extremism." Although the plan did not mention Islam directly, it was widely seen as the Burqa Ban. According to research by the University of Lucerne in Germany, almost no one in Switzerland wears a burqa and only around 30 women wear the niqab. About 5% of Switzerland's population of 8.6 million people are Muslim, most originating from Turkey, Bosnia and Kosovo. It involves a prohibition on covering the nose, mouth and eyes in public spaces. However, there are some exemptions. The ban does not apply in diplomatic and consular premises. Faces may also be covered in places of worship, and facial coverings remain permitted for reasons relating to health and safety. The Muslim community and human rights organizations like Amnesty International criticize the passing of the prohibition. In a statement, Amnesty International called the ban a dangerous policy that violates women's rights, including to freedom of expression and religion. Is banning burqas a move towards unity, or is it discriminatory? A law prohibiting face coverings in public spaces came into effect in Denmark in August 2018. Anyone wearing clothing that conceals their face, such as a full-faced veil, could be fined.
Well, we want to take a stand against political Islam, and we want to do this by banning the headscarf, the scarf where you have covered all of your face, so you're not able to see the other person's face. We think that it's a core value in the Danish society and also in other Western society that you're able to see the person that you're talking to. And also we want to take a stand against the fundamentalist groups within the Danish society.
It's gonna make my life hard. Of course I'm sad about it. I hope that I could keep on living in peace, but this is the reality now, and I just have to arrange my life so that I can maybe get through the loopholes of the law, hopefully.
I don't see any reason to do it. There is nothing good coming out of it. The hatred and the fear that people talk about is coming from ignorance and from not trying to understand and not understanding. And I think we should focus more on trying to understand different cultures than not allowing them to be a part of our society.
In June this year, Danish Prime Minister Mette Frederiksen called for stricter measures limiting religious symbols and rituals in education, asking for a ban on full coverage veils worn by Muslim women to be extended to schools and universities. The country's overall ban on burqas and niqabs in public places, introduced in 2018, had not been applied to educational institutions. Frederiksen plans to eliminate prayer rooms in these institutions, but without officially banning them. A burqa ban came into force in the Netherlands in 2019. Under the terms of the Partial Ban on Face Covering Clothing Act, the wearing of face-covering clothing is prohibited in public buildings, including schools and hospitals, and on public transport. There is no prohibition on wearing such garments in the street. It covers the burqa and the niqab, as well as motor helmets and ski masks, with offenders subject to a €150 or $166 fine. Bulgaria introduced a burqa ban in 2016. People who do not comply with the ban in Bulgaria face fines of up to $860. In 2017, Austria prohibited full-faced veils, the niqab and the burqa in public spaces such as courts and schools. The government said it was considering a more general ban on state employees wearing the headscarf and other religious symbols. In July 2011, a law banning the full-faced veil came into effect in Belgium. The law bans any clothing that obscures the identity of the wearer in places like parks and on streets. In 2020, Germany banned full-face coverings for all school children, saying burqas and niqabs did not belong in a free society. Proponents of full-face bans in Germany say they are necessary to protect young girls, that forcing or encouraging them to wear them infringes on their rights. There are also some nations where this religious attire is made mandatory for women to wear in public settings. Let's take a look at the countries where a burqa or hijab is compulsory. In Afghanistan, women must wear the hijab or burqa. It has been strictly enforced after the Taliban regime returned to power in 2021. Taliban suggested the burqa as the preferred garment for covering a woman's face, hair and body, but it did not mandate wearing the garment as long as women cover themselves with a hijab. The burqa was required by the Taliban when it ruled most of the country from 1996 to 2001. Since the Taliban seized control of Afghanistan in August 2021, Afghan women have been subjected to many restrictions on their employment, education, travel and other aspects of public life. The mandatory hijab law continues to question women's liberty in the country.
All over the country, the women who go out must wear the hijab. Those who are going to cities, jobs, offices, schools. If they are at home, it is their own business, but if they are going out into the city for shopping or their job or teaching, it's better if they are in hijab.
We want to live as living beings, live as noble creatures, not to live as a captive in one corner of the house.
The history of the garment dates back generations in Afghanistan and is a product of Afghan culture that long preceded the emergence of the Taliban in the 1990s. In fact, even under the previous Western-backed government, many women, especially in rural areas and small towns, continued to wear burqas. In Iran since 1981, after the 1979 Islamic Revolution, the hijab has become compulsory. All women are required to wear loose-fitting clothing and a headscarf in public. This is for both Iranian women and tourists. Every woman is required to follow this law, and anyone who does not is penalized with fines or other consequences. Many Iranian women have complained about this regulation, but the mandatory hijab law still stands firm, even after the law had cost a person her life. In 2022, a young Kurdish Iranian woman, Jina Mahsa Amini's death in police custody sparked the woman life freedom movement in Iran. She was accused of improperly wearing a hijab. The 22-year-old's death sparked widespread anti-government protests across the West Asian nation. According to human rights groups, Iranian authorities clamped down on the demonstrations, killing and arresting people. Even though the Islamic regime managed to hold on to power, the death of Amini is largely seen as a turning point for Iran and its society. 3 years later, the list of grievances has only grown, making the clerical regime more insecure. The women-led protests that broke out after Amini's death challenged not only the rule of the mandatory headscarf that has been a key pillar of the regime, but also the very existence of the cleric-based system.
The hijab law will never be lifted since this is the Islamic Republic. However, it is an optional thing and should not be mandated. Yet it is mandatory, and I don't think any president who comes next would be willing to change this law.
Hijab is a choice. It shouldn't be forced. I like to wear it. Someone might not want to wear this. Another might like to wear a chador.
Defying the pressures and threats from security forces, these women have been resisting the hijab mandate in Iran.
Nobody is uttering a word. Nobody, no feminist organization is campaigning for Iranians and for Afghan women. According to that certain kind of mindset, hijab is a personal choice. Widows were forced for all their lives to wear a black scarf covering half of the face and wear black, including thick stockings, summer or winter, never mind, for the rest of their lives.
The issue of wearing or banning the burqa, hijab or any face covering has long been a subject of debate. Proponents of banning the burqa argue that it is necessary for security and cultural cohesion, while critics say such bans discriminate against a religious group and disregard women's freedom of choice. Shouldn't the decision to wear a face covering be left to the woman, or should state laws dictate this choice? The debate continues.